Well, thank you, and good afternoon to everyone. It's nice to see so many good friends again in a venue like this, and I applaud the Chamber for having really the courage to make public discourse a topic. We don't often deal with that to this degree or this necessity. I think many years ago, I think we all started to see a change from a real targeted focus on outcome and reform that changed to process. And I think the process aspect is really quite necessary, but at the same time, I don't think anybody in this room would argue that a lot of the process now seems ineffective, broken, toxic, where we actually start to concentrate more on the divisiveness of public discourse than really getting to an agreed upon reform or outcome. And I think the problem is not necessarily the reform or the outcome that's proposed. There are many that have come before, I think, City Council, certainly many that came before our board at city schools that were very middle-of-the-road reform efforts, made a lot of sense to many people on both sides, but for some reason we couldn't get to yes. And I think we need to acknowledge that it's not necessarily the disagreement of content any longer, but it's really an interrelational dysfunctionality that we are attempting to maneuver, attempting to navigate. That's not meant as a demeaning comment or even a critical comment, but I don't think 15 months to get to yes over the negotiating table is something very positive. I don't think that 5 years or 10 years following very comprehensive studies and still awaiting a certain agreed upon outcome speaks very highly for those involved in the process. In my last column last Sunday, I tried to identify certain characteristics that I feel are present in the dysfunction. A great sense these days of entitlement, and when entitlement is faced with fiscal reality, victimization soon follows. One aspect of this dysfunction. Another aspect is we seem to frame all issues as either-or issues. And it's immediate, there's immediate opposition. We don't frame the issue in the sense of a commonly agreed outcome. We stay on our sides. And as we stay blocked into our sides, they become very intractable positions. As an individual, as Tom inferred, as an individual, you're almost timid, lacking courage to break from that intractable sense of the block think, of the group think. And I would hope that there's room in all of our, to be perfectly honest, in our sense of being open, to really want to hear individuals who might want to separate themselves from their perceived block. I also believe that many times now the means have become ends in themselves. Opponents of certain outcomes have a great victory in delay. And that whole idea of how do we continue to delay getting to yes has become the focus, and we lose sight of the perhaps commonly held end. At the end of our time, I hope to make some suggestions that I think could help. I certainly don't have any easy or quick or simplistic answers. But I will talk about moving public discourse into a greater, broader acceptance of civility and productivity and effectiveness at the same time through, no surprise to anyone here, through some education. I'll touch upon governance a little bit if I have that opportunity. And I'll also talk about 21st century media, believe it or not, which I think could assist us in this process. So thank you.